Hi creatives, happy to see you today. We continue our series of lives with creative people all over the world. We talk with artists, designers, and all other creatives. And today we have a guest who is specialized in transforming art decor into beautiful, amazing pieces. Chloe Kempster, a talented artist. She blends her fine art background with a passion of upcycling and sustainability. And Chloe works its real transformation of an ordinary wardrobe into a piece of art. She covers it with beautiful floral motifs, beautiful illustrations, and I'm sure that we will know a lot of interesting tips and about the creative process, how to change your home decor, how to make it so beautiful. And okay, if you, sorry, there's some troubles with connection. I hope you can hear me now. Let me know. So, if you want to get all the best takeaways from this live, you can just subscribe to my newsletter. There's a link in my bio, or if you watch this video on the YouTube, there is a link in the description. And then if you subscribe to this newsletter, you will receive all the best highlights of this live, all the tips for creatives that you can use into your inbox. And so get ready for an inspiring conversation about transforming your home decor into art pieces. And Chloe, please. Yeah, I see. Accept. Yeah, please feel free to write your comments, any questions in the comments, and we will be happy to answer them. Hi.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am fine. How are you? Happy to see you.
I'm,
Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well. I can hear you well. I can't see you at the moment, but it's fine. I can hear you.
It's strange.
Yeah, I could see you a minute ago, and then when I joined, I can't see you now, but it's fine. I can hear you okay.
Okay. Can anyone write in the comment if you can see both of us?
Yeah, we
Because
need to know.
please let us know.
I can just see me. Maybe it's my connection. I don't know. Can you hear me
I,
okay?
I can hear you very well.
Okay.
I see your beautiful artworks on the background.
Oh,
Um,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and you. I
yeah.
saw yours a minute ago. Well, I've had to stage my living room a little bit because I normally work down in my garden, but the internet isn't great down there. I don't want to go into too much technical stuff, but it's hard to get the like a hard connection down there. So I've brought some stuff up to the living room.
Mhm. Yeah, we've got some comments that yes, they see both of us. That's
Oh,
great. We can
excellent.
so
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's
So
good.
we can start.
Oh,
I
excellent.
said
We may be disturbed by the dog because he follows me everywhere I go. So sorry about I'll just make him say hi in case you can
ah,
hear him.
oh, he's so cute. I have a pug too. It's a pug, right? Can I see?
Yeah, it's a pug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm one of those crazy dog people. He's always talking about the dog, but he literally follows me everywhere. He's like a baby. So just so you
Mm.
know it's him if you hear any strange noises.
Yeah, I know. I have a girl pug, but she's 14 years old
Oh,
actually. But yeah,
wow. Oh,
yeah,
oh,
she also do these funny noises all the time. So
oh, yeah.
let's start with the art questions. And I would like to start from the beginning. I've always liked to know your artistic journey. How did you come up to art? As I know, you started with the fine art background. Can
I
you
did.
just
Yeah.
tell us a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, I actually did. I always wanted to be an artist. So, you know, from a child, that was all I wanted to be. And I think in a way, I think when you're young, people will say, "Oh, don't be an artist. You won't earn any money." But I was like, "No, I'm going to do it." And I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong. It is hard. I think it's a hard path sometimes to take. But yeah, I think I slipped into the net a little bit because my parents, they are separated. And I think at the time I was just like, I'm doing arts, and just went off to uni and went to paint on canvas. And, I loved it. So yeah, that was my background. I was just always determined to do that.
And when did this transition from fine art to upcycling happen, and why you
So
decided to?
yeah, I think that came. So basically, I did my fine art degree, and then I bought my first house. Uh, and at the time, we'd bought the house, and then I had a happy surprise of my first son. So who is 17? He's nearly 17 now. But at the time, then it kind of threw me a little bit because I'd literally just finished my degree, and I hadn't really settled in a career as such, because it's quite hard starting as an artist, isn't it? It's almost like you're working for yourself. You're not necessarily able to just go and get a job somewhere, if you want to paint your own designs and things. I think back in the day anyway, it was probably a bit harder. And so I wanted to stay at home with them. And then it was in line with buying this new house that we were renovating, like a really old cottage. My mum, she was an antiques dealer for a time. So I'd just always been subjected to really nice old furniture, taken to car boots when I was a child, dragged along to antique shops and things on holiday. And so I think it was a way of combining what was going on in my life, with the house and the children and wanting to make a home, but also a more practical way of being an artist, because I think it's easier at times when you have that practical element, that's something you can use in your home. Rather than it just hang on the wall, it was slightly easier to make my mark that way. And I think now the art's coming into it more, but I think it was a good way of getting started and building my brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Do you remember your first piece when you tried to do something on the furniture, or maybe it was a smaller piece? What was the first one?
Yeah, the first one. I think you'll know as an artist, it's there are certain kind of landmarks, aren't there? Don't you think there are certain pieces of art or pieces of work that you just remember? So I've got a few different ones. My very first piece that I bought was for the house, and it was at auction, and it was a pine scrub top table, like a Victorian
Mhm.
one, and it was mustard yellow. Um, and I remember that was because we had nothing. We literally moved in, had nothing, and we would sit on deck chairs. And then I went and bought this Victorian table. But yeah, I have kind of I remember the first piece I painted any kind of specific artwork on, where I was actually drawing onto the piece, that was more of a folk art type style. But yeah, there's lots of different pieces that have been like memories, they stick in your mind.
Wasn't it scary for you to draw on the first piece, on the first furniture that you decided to transform? Wasn't it scary?
Yeah,
Did you have any mind thoughts like, "Oh, I can spoil it. It's so beautiful," and what?
yeah,
Or you're
it
very
is.
confident?
Yeah,
Can you?
I think no, I think it is actually scary. I'm more confident now, and I'm finding with practice. And I think that's the thing as an artist. I'm discovering myself that I have to practice, and then as you practice, it's almost like the bravery comes alongside that. But yeah, it is, and I think particularly with furniture, because you've already painted a piece and it might already be green or look lovely, how it is, and you think, oh, it's finished. Somebody would buy it like this. And then to then go and almost just graffiti over it is quite nerve-wracking, or has been, but not so much now. I'm kind of, I'm more in the flow now. But when I very first did it, yeah, it was really scary.
Mhm. And for how many years you already paint on the furniture, on the decor?
Oh, wow. So, how old is my second daughter? I was trying to remember. She's 14, and I
Oh, wow.
started, yeah, so I started when she was a baby. So, I started with my mum actually, because she was doing the antiques, and we were like, oh, let's do it together. Because then I can stay with the kids and work from home, because, otherwise I wasn't really earning enough to put them in nursery or anything, and I wanted to be with them. So yeah, yeah, 14
A
years
lot,
and still going.
a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it is, yeah.
When I look at your artworks on the background, and when I was scrolling your Instagram page, you definitely have your own artistic style, a distinctive style that you use to decorate the furniture as an artist. And 14 years ago, did you have any kind of artistic style, or you were just trying different things, or how,
I think,
how it was?
yeah, yeah, no, I think 14 years ago, I think it's almost hidden. I don't know if you find that. And it's like I'm now discovering what was always there. And my work now, although it's developing, it reminds me of my work when I was at uni and, the kind of work that I like to do when, I was studying GCSE, when I was 16, and the kind of the way that my work would just turn out. I think, I think everyone has their own kind of style, really, and sometimes it's just there. It's like it just appeals to you. I think for me, it's like mark making and with color, and I never really think of that I'm drawing something. Really, I'm more forming something from. Does that make sense? Like I'm almost forming it from the process and the marks I'm making, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. It's very interesting to know. I don't have this experience on decorating, on forming any art on the furniture. So for me, it's very interesting to know how you think and how you name this. It also shows how your creative work flows, I think. So it's wonderful to know
Oh, it's so nice to
how.
talk to you. I'm honestly honoured. It's so nice to meet you and talk to you. I love your work.
Thank you so much. Uh, I have more questions about your artistic style, actually. Uh, it's obviously inspired by flowers, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How can you share a little bit more about this? How your life is connected with flowers? Maybe it's something that you like from the childhood, or maybe you have a garden, or
Yeah.
what are flowers
I
for you?
Yeah, I do actually live. So I do live out in the country. I'm in Leicestershire, which is in the middle of the UK. And my house is in a village, but it's on the edge of the village. So I am surrounded my workshop, I can see the fields out the back. And I am surrounded by flowers. But I think mostly I was saying this to my daughter the other day because she's doing a project at school on, I think she said it was natural forms, and she was saying, "Oh, mum, can you help?" And I was trying to explain to her why I like flowers in particular and organic forms, and I think it's the abstract nature of them because I think they allow you to experiment a lot because the forms are so fluid and um, I never really enjoyed doing portraits or anything that looks kind of exactly, to the detail. I like the expression in flower that I seem to find in flowers. I just like the process of it. I think you can do them more detailed, or you can be quite loose and free, and I like that variation with them.
Yeah, me too. I also like this
Yeah,
that it gives you a lot of freedom. And
yeah,
and what is
yeah.
your daily routine like when you're working on some piece, or do
Oh,
you
wow.
usually start with sketches, or can you describe it also? Do you work in the studio at home? So imagine it's morning and it's your working day. How does it start?
Yeah, so I have to admit, I need to work on my daily routine for sure. Because I work from home, so it can be ever changing. I can definitely I don't know if you feel the same sometimes, but I can definitely get disturbed at times. I have a lot of school runs to do, so as well. So, and children in different places. But typically, what I like to do is just walk through the house and ignore everything and then go down to my workshop. So normally, I would be in there. I would say that I'm not an early starter. I'm definitely a late, I'd say a night owl. So I tend to work better at night actually. And I'm very kind of in the moment. So some days I just don't feel like it. And then, particularly if I've got work to do, you know, like admin things or stuff on the laptop or video editing, all of that, and I just can't get in the frame of mind to create. But then when I am, I'll just stick at, I'll be working for hours and hours. I don't come in, you know, once it hits that kind of moment of inspiration, then I'm there for forever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so your work is like waves. Sometimes you need to slow
Yeah,
down
definitely
and then
waves. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely waves. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but I think, yeah, it seems to just kind of hit me, and then I'm quite productive, and then I have moments where not so much. But I definitely tend to do like, I think I definitely do blocks of time. So I tend to do like admin, you know, computer stuff or writing, um, all in one, and then I'm suddenly into artistic creative zone, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, you have a book about upcycling and furniture. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
this, please.
yeah, I do. Yeah. So that's, yeah, so that was amazing, really. I did always want to write a book, and then the opportunity just came to me. And it was such a long time ago. About it was actually, I've known about this book for 2 years, kind of over, and it was a real kind of life event, you know. It's all consuming, you know, and it just takes over everything. For me, it did in my mind, and it's a real. I'm really passionate about it, um, you know, and I just wanted it to be right. And did all the photography here as well at home. So yeah, it's a book about cycling and furniture art, and yeah, I just really wanted it to have that artistic element to it as well. You know, in terms of kind of furniture being, you know, a functional artwork and not just a quick fix either. So although that's amazing and it's great to have a hobby, and I'm massively pro that, you know, I would love everyone to have upcycled furniture in their home and have a go. It's also kind of saying that there is a profession there as well, and that it's better, you know, the book's called Better Than You. Um, and that you'll get something that's better quality, you know, that these pieces are cared for and time has taken over them, and they're, you know, it's just really trying to put the spotlight really on the skill that's involved in it, I guess. So yeah.
Can you give us some tips? For example, if I decide to upcycle a piece of furniture, what is my first step? What should I do?
Well, I think mine would always be, because it's part of the creative process as well for me, but I just think prep. Um, because obviously there are so many paints and things on the market, but I always feel like prepping is like, it's a little bit like oh, a ritual for me, you know, discovering what's underneath something or discovering what you've got to work with, and then all of a sudden your mind starts wearing and you think, oh, you know, I'm going to do it like this way, and I think this would suit it, or I'm going to keep some natural wood and I'm going to paint this. But prep, because obviously it will last the test of time, you know, as they say. And the thing is, if you're spending time on something and you want to love it, then if it lasts, that's amazing. So I think prep. And just don't paint chairs as well, because I don't like painting chairs. They're too much hard work, you know. So maybe pick something with a flat surface, like a chest of drawers or something with a flat surface, particularly if you want to do flowers and things. That's what I'll often look for, yeah.
Mhm. So when I have an object, a flat object, not very big one, I suppose, for the first project, uh, what next? Should I make a sketch first or go deep into the technical details? What kind of paint should I use? And others, definitely some
Okay.
steps.
Yeah, so my process um as an artist is really to, and like I mentioned about the prep, it's kind of like about discovering what you've actually got to work with first. And then I am quite erratic with my artwork, so I don't really tend to sketch much. I tend to just I tend to just go with it. I
Mm.
tend to go with it.
So
And it's very much governed by the piece, and the lines on it, and where the lock and key is, or where the drawers are, if that makes sense. So
yeah, does it
yeah.
does this mean so you don't even do any mock-ups, or you just
No, I'm
listen to
very
the
old school. Yeah.
you,
No, I probably need to learn to do that, but I'm really old school. I just go straight in there and draw on it. And I think somehow that's how the work ends up looking like it does, because there's like a certain, I don't know, bravery behind it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like I try to explain in my book, because there is a project on florals in the book, and I try to explain, rather than kind of going up to the piece and with your brush and kind of try and standing up close and trying to do it all detailed. It's more a kind of, let's kind of paint in the shape and let's draw in the shape, like that. If that
yeah, yeah.
if that kind of makes sense, just to, because I think that's very much part of what, obviously each artist is different, and you can paint whatever you like, and paint
Hmm.
whatever art in
Hmm.
whatever way you want on furniture, as long as you prep it well. But for me, that's part of it, to get the expression and the movement, is just not thinking about it too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great approach. It's very emotional, and I think it's even gives you maybe kind of releasing of your feelings and emotions
Yeah. Oh
also
yeah,
during this process. And
definitely.
is as we are painting not on the canvas, on the furniture, in this case, is this process forgiving for not mistakes, but these things when you want to redo something, when you want to recolor? Okay, because when we work on canvas with acrylics, for example, we can be very expressive, and we can then make another layer if you want to change something. With
Yeah.
watercolors, it's not impossible, for example.
Yeah.
And with furniture, how kind it is to adjustments, to
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. I think it can be trickier, but I think for me, like you mentioned about layers, in the particular style of floral artwork I do, um, I always think that the mistakes and the layers make it better. So I just try to keep my cool when I make mistakes, and think, as long as I've prepped it okay and the paint's going on here okay, and I use a water-based, chalk-based paint to do my florals. So in terms of over painting, as long as I've practiced, in terms of thinking, oh, I've made a mistake, I just need to overpaint with some more paint, it's going to stick on there fine again, if that makes sense. So, I don't worry too much, and I just think, if you make a mistake, then it gives it depth, doesn't it? Um, so yeah, I'm always kind of, in a way, the mistakes are what make it. I think it gives it more depth and character.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So it's water-based paint, and then you fix it with something at the end.
Yeah,
With,
fix at the end. Yeah, yeah. So typically I tend to paint around because it's furniture, it's being used, it has to be practical. So typically I paint my floors onto like a flat background. And at the end I will use an eggshell or something like that. It's still water based, but it's more of a hard wearing surface around it. So the main parts of this, if it's a sideboard, for example, or the top, will be in kind of a hard wearing eggshell, and then the flowers I seal with the clear polyurethane. Yeah.
mhm. How long can it take you to finish one project, one
Oh wow.
table, for example?
Oh. So I know that I need to be quicker, and that's part of the process I'm in at the moment. I'm trying to repeat things a little bit, so that I can begin to get a little bit quicker at what I do. Um, but it can be really time consuming, because obviously with a blank canvas, you're able to just start, which is lovely. And I want to do more on canvas as well. But with old furniture, there's a whole another process, you know, before you start that artwork, and also in terms of the finishing as well. So you've got these two extra elements, I think. You've got to kind of prep it or strip it, whatever you need to do, clean it down, clean the hinges, take them off, you know, mask it up. Then you've got to do your artwork, and then you need to finish it so it's usable, because it has to be, when you're, because I sell my pieces, so it has to be fit for purpose, you know. So it's, yeah, it is time consuming. But that said, I always envy canvas artists, because I think, oh, how do they do it? Because sometimes I find a completely blank canvas quite daunting, you know, to start on. Whereas with the furniture, somehow it makes sense to me. It's like the process of prepping it and getting to that point inspires me to keep going.
Hmm.
Whereas with a blank canvas, I always feel, sometimes can feel a bit lost. So yeah, um,
Hmm.
it's, yeah, it's a slightly different process, but
It,
yeah.
yeah, it sounds to me like you have a conversation with furniture
Yeah,
and you look at
yeah,
it, study, and it speaks to you.
yeah,
Kind of,
yeah.
let's do a
How
crazy.
did you know? Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It's even sometimes when I'm in a charity shop, wherever it might be, or like there's a local furniture warehouse near to me where I'll have to get secondhand pieces. I can almost see the photograph as well. So it's like this whole story, you know, that unfolds. And I'll see a piece and I'll think, that's perfect for that. Oh, yeah, that's how I'm going to stage it. This is the style I'm going to go for. That's the kind of client that would buy it. So I kind of love the variation with furniture, I think. And it really inspires me. The different possibilities, I think.
Do you remember your first piece of furniture that was sold, and who was your first client? How did this happen?
Oh, wow. Okay. So strangely, so obviously started off on this art path, and then I bought my house. So there's kind of two sides. There's the person who wants to restore and who's very much into, you know, the antiques and the history of things and the character, and then the person who wants to paint. So my first piece actually was a like a blanket box, and I stripped it. So ironically, I actually stripped it of paint, and it was like heavy in thick gloss paint. I stripped it back to old pine and waxed it all up. That was the first piece that I ever invested in. I think I had £20 spare, bought the box, and then sold it for a small profit. But yeah, but then I discovered green paint, because green is my favorite color. Anything green or teal, or you know, those kind of emerald greens. And yeah, I used to paint quite a lot of things when it was all cream, you know, back in the day when um, there was the shabby chic era, wasn't there? And everything was kind of cream and distressed. I was painting things green, so
And
yeah.
and what did you do next? How you started to contact with the clients, or did they find you just on social media, or I don't know? Because
Oh
obviously,
yeah,
when you upcycle and create beautiful pieces of art, you have to show it somewhere so
yeah,
people
yeah,
find you. Yeah.
yeah.
How did it
So
work?
yeah, definitely. So I began actually just doing it from home, and I started with social media, and Instagram was always my favorite platform. So I started posting my work and just kind of taking pride in the pictures as well, because I knew it was the only way. At the time, I couldn't afford to like have a shop or anything like that, and I thought that's the only way that I can see to actually put my work out there. So I used to do a lot of social media when I first started. And I think initially I first sold things on eBay. I don't do that anymore. And then I moved on and had a little shop space within like an antique centre. Um, but it was really nice because it was like an office in within an antique centre. So it felt like a shop. And I loved displaying all of the things in there. Um, and I loved it. But then I had my third little one, at the time then I had 2 spaces, and I realized really that to get the right clients, they weren't necessarily in that place, they were more online. So actually everything that I do now, or have done in the last few years, has been online, because I can stage the photo, I can attract the right people. Whereas sometimes in a shop space, particularly if you're with lots of other sellers, you can't quite get the right aesthetic across. Does that make sense? Um, so I gave those up when I had Eden, my third baby. And at the moment, I'm just working from home and just doing all the social media things. I've done content creation. I use Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all of those things. But looking ahead, I would like to have another space again. So yeah,
You do
fingers
it.
crossed.
Do you do everything by your own, or do you have any assistance, someone, maybe marketing strategist, or someone who helps you with promoting your art?
Oh yeah, well I do it all myself. Yeah, I do. It's it it's a lot. But yeah, I do it all myself. I have just recently got somebody, a virtual assistant, who's down in Cornwall, and she sometimes helps me, like for example with the book, I've got a book launch going on next week. And she'll sometimes help me, if I'm up against it, I'll say, oh, can you just make me a poster? Or, can you write me a newsletter? That kind of thing. She
Hmm.
helps occasionally, which is so nice to feel like you can ask someone to
Hmm.
take on a job, and you not have to do it.
Hmm.
But it's just, you have to gradually build it, I think, to a place where
Hmm.
you can start to delegate tasks to people. Um, you know,
Yeah, yeah, I understand you.
yeah.
And if you come back to your clients, is the majority of your clients private kind of? I mean, they buy to their homes, or maybe to some stores, or is it company?
Yeah, no,
What?
mine are mostly all private. They're mostly all private. And they go kind of all over really. They go all over, but yeah, all around the country. But they're mostly private clients. Yeah, and I'm really lucky sometimes to have some repeat clients that will kind of see a piece, particularly if it's one of the more
Hmm.
artistic pieces, the floral ones, where they'll think, oh, I'd really like that one. If the houses are big enough,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I can
you
easily
have to have a lot
imagine.
of things.
I can easily imagine it if I buy a piece of your furniture, which is very beautifully painted and formed, that I definitely would like to have another one and another one to make a match at my house. Do you maybe collaborate with interior designers or architects who work on the design projects for some houses to private
I
clients?
had a couple. This is something that I would like to go a little bit further into. Um, I've definitely had my head down with the book for quite a long time, and I feel like now that I finished it, it's like a new part, a new chapter slightly. And I have worked with interior designers before where I've done pieces for them. Um, but I would like to do that a lot more, honestly. I think that I could do that, and I think I would really enjoy it. Even like murals and things like that. I don't know. Do you do murals, Paulina? Do you ever do murals with your work?
Actually, no, I'm thinking about that, but I haven't tried yet any big murals. Yeah, but I would
Yeah,
love to.
yeah, I can imagine your work would look amazing.
Thank you so much. Are there any other topics that you would love to cover or share with our listeners about upcycling or home decor, which we didn't
Oh wow,
talk about?
wow, that's a question. I can talk about upcycling and paint and furniture forever. But no, I think
Hmm.
unless anyone has got any questions who's watching, but yeah, no, I think it's just it's just something that I'm really passionate about. I always think, it's lovely to reuse something, because then you're not going to have to buy something new, which is going to in turn benefit all of us. So it's lovely to do something creative and feel good about it, but also have that added kind of element of feeling like actually this will make a difference if I keep doing this, you know, it'll make a difference. So I just love it.
Mhm. And in your books, if someone who is listening to us and decided now, okay, I want to upcycle and paint on my table, for example, can they find some information on how to do this step-by-step guidance, maybe in
Yeah,
your book, in your books,
actually,
right?
yeah. Do you mind me? I have the book here, actually. Do you mind
Yeah,
me? I will just have a quick
yeah.
click. But yeah, it's basically the point of the book. This is the book, Better Than You. And the point of it is really, it has this whole section on repair and refinishing. So, you know, if you want to kind of wax something or oil something or varnish something, painting like with a roller, painting with a brush. So it's really practical too. And I deliberately wanted it to be a book that would actually teach you rather than just inspirational. That so there are pages like this. These are quite, you know, on repairs and things, and repairing wood and stuff. But then there's pages. So this is one of my favorite projects. Like this one.
Mm,
This kind of
so
thing.
lovely.
Yeah, and then so there's alternative techniques in there as well. And let's have a look. Oh, this is I'll show you the floral one. But this is one of the floral ones in there.
Hmm.
Um,
Very
so
beautiful.
yeah, it shows you how to do that. So it's very much a mix of creative with the more practical skills that you need to do it on the furniture and to learn how to, like I say, like repair things and restore things. Because I just think with furniture, everything's different. And when you have all of those skills, there's a world of possibilities, you know, and you can pick any design when you know um, all of those. If you start from the basics, you can kind of think, okay, well, actually, I want that to be a restored piece, or I'm going to do like a tape design, or I'm just going to paint it all with flowers. You know, it's almost like you need the skills to be able to make those decisions. So it just opens up this massive world of possibility, I think.
Mhm. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out their artistic journey? Maybe there are some key lessons that you would say to yourself and that you would say to know when you started your art journey.
Sorry, sorry, Paulina, I
Oh,
missed. Sorry, I
yeah,
missed
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm asking, are there any tips that you would say to yourself or our listeners, to yourself many years ago when you were just starting your artistic journey, or maybe to
Yeah.
someone who is now listening to you and also want to create, maybe want to decorate the furniture, to paint on it, or just starting their artistic career or dreaming about that? What would you uh, recommend,
Yeah.
suggest?
So I think if they were going to think about starting, I think um, I think be brave, but also just know that it's just like a case of problem solving, really. Every problem it can be solved. It's just like a process. So um just I think that's really it's a hard question to give kind of tips and things. But if it was going to be like a practical tip, I would say try to pick something that's not already painted, because that would be easier for you, because you're not going to have to strip it down. You know, try and pick something that's solid wood, because that's a little bit easier. Like I mentioned before, a piece of flat surfaces if you want to do artwork on it. And just make sure you promote yourself. I think key thing for me, and that's the reason why I was able to write a book probably, and why I was asked, is presenting your work. So if, for example, you're starting out, because there's a part in my book about staging and photography and things, and how important that was really, and is, because if you do that, you'll get more money, you'll attract the right customers, and you'll get out there much better than if perhaps you just take a quick picture and it's perhaps not straight, and it's dark or whatever. So yeah, I think how you present your work at the end has been a massive factor for me in my career.
Yeah, what a beautiful and helpful advice, actually. It's really
Oh,
important to show up, to show your work, to present it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's honestly, it's been detrimental for me. I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities I've had without taking that care at the end. So yeah, even when you've done an amazing piece, if it's not presented well at the end, then nobody will know, you know. So I think that's just one of the massive bits of information, really, massive tips that I would give anyone who was starting out. Yeah.
Oh, we have a question in the comments. How do you price your work? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. How do you price work? So I think pricing does depend on the artist as well. I've definitely been able to put my prices up slightly since I've been, I think, more busy, you know, and less able to create things. So obviously, naturally, then you think, okay, if my work's in demand, then it's going to have to go up. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here. You know, I'm not. Do you know what I mean? You have to bear that in mind, don't you? Um, but I try to, if I can, I try to time so I have a general idea. But I think just looking around as well, looking at sites that sell furniture as well, it's harder from the artistic angle because art's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Because, you know, somebody might love it and somebody might not. Somebody might be prepared to pay for it, you know, X amount, and then maybe another person might not appreciate it as much. So with art, it's very much just building your brand, I think, and kind of doing that slowly. So I gradually started with lower prices and just ever like gradually, you know, put them up slightly. But with vintage furniture and upcycling, I think it's a good idea to just look at what other people are doing. So like the sites that I often see, there's obviously Etsy, there's Vinteria, you could look at eBay, there's lots of other
Mm-hmm.
ones.
So,
But
so
yeah.
your advice is to study the market first, right?
Yeah,
Study
I
what
think
others
just look
do.
at, yeah, look at what other people are doing. And then also think realistically, because I often see pieces, particularly in the upcycling world, when people start that are kind of underpriced. Because we really think about it, when you add up the materials and all the time that you've spent, you have to think, is it worth, you know, how much, if I was working for myself, how much would I pay myself per hour, and try to just have some kind of inkling as to how long a piece is taken,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how much the materials were
Mm-hmm.
to do it, because I often see work undervalued, and I think artists do that too, you know,
Yeah.
because I think in a way we're all quite modest, aren't we, about
Mm-hmm.
our work, and does someone really want to pay that for my work? Do they really want it? um yeah.
So first we have to count how much we spend on the materials, and then decide and see how much time we spend on this, how much time I would love to have in one per hour, and then
Yeah,
putting all together,
yeah,
also comparing to the market, and that
yeah,
would be the starting price.
definitely.
Right?
Yeah, and I think just having confidence. So, you know, you'll often get people message kind of, oh, would you take an offer? And that's fine. Or maybe sometimes I will, but other times just having the confidence, thinking, actually, do I really, is that really what, is it really worth it? You know, how long did you spend on that? So just believing in yourself. I think sometimes if you believe in yourself and
Mm-hmm.
believe that what you've created is worth it, then you can, we'll use that word manifest, but you know, you can manifest a sale sometimes. So just be confident in your work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a question one more time for, so how long does an artistic piece take usually? I already
Wow.
asked you about that,
So this is,
but
yeah, this is, yeah. I was thinking, oh, I'll try to not answer that one. No, I'm joking. Yeah, it's very difficult. I think it's easier for when I kind of know I've prepped it and then I've just painted it blue, I kind of know the time. With the florals, sometimes as we were talking earlier about mistakes and layers, and they can go wrong and you don't anticipate them to go wrong. But I think overall, you know, if you're doing that all the time, it levels itself out because some can be quicker than you anticipate. So yeah, I recently did a floral sideboard, and it took, oh my word, there one point where I thought I was really finished, and my husband was joking with me, and I was saying, and he goes, "It looks finished." I was like, "No, it's not. It's not. There's a bit that's not quite right." He says, "But you could just finish now." And I'm like, "No." And then 14 hours later, I think I did a reel on it. 14 hours later, I finally finished. So a sideboard takes an immense amount of time. I'd say at least kind of 60 hours. Yeah, long time. Yeah, with all the prep and everything.
It's not for me. It sounds not so long because I thought that you would say that a month for a table or something like
Yeah,
this.
I think it does. Normally it's like a month, but then if you kind of squash it into the actual, so in your mind it's like a month because every day it's like I'm working on the sideboard, but then the actual hours that you spend on it, you know, um, I squash that down. But yeah, it does. It pretty much takes me a month. You're so right there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. And if someone who missed the beginning of the live, you can subscribe to the newsletter and I will send you the main highlights from this live. So you will get all the tips and advices that can help you to start your artistic journey and to try to upcycling the furniture. And Chloe, thank you so much. I was really very happy to talk with you, and I think it was for me it was very interesting to know about this side of art because I don't have this experience, and actually I think it's a pretty not so popular profession, and it's always interesting to know the insights how you create this beauty because your Instagram is really amazing. And if you're not
Yeah.
subscribed to Chloe, please check out her Instagram. There are so beautiful pieces of furniture, and I would love to have this pink one with the flowers at my home. And yeah.
Oh, honestly, it's made my day. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, that's made my day. Because I don't know if you work alone a lot, but I do. And it's just so nice to speak to people and get some feedback, sometimes every so often. So thank you. Yeah. I'm a big fellow fan of your work.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. And just
oh,
let's
she's
contact
just going to say
if you
bye.
want. Ah, yes. Bye.
Bye. He's going.
Yes. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
you too. It was
Thank
so
you.
nice to speak to
For
you.
me too.
See you. Bye. Yeah,
See you.
bye.